I am a terrible person. I'm a horrible human being. I left you guys on an insane cliffhanger the last time we did this. I really did. I am not sorry. Sorry, not sorry, Robcore. Because I'm gonna do it again. So here's the thing, guys. Here's the thing. So in the last video, we basically ended with the Viltrumite war essentially kind of done for the most part. Like the Viltrumites themselves had just basically been crushed, right? I mean, these guys had just been crushed in the worst way. And then in turn, we then had like the Viltrumites taking off, right? Basically fleeing and then taking off to Earth, right? Mark was the one to figure out that's what was gonna happen. Now at this point, we pick up with Earth, right? The Pentagon. And literally like Thragg, the leader of the Viltrumite Empire, and really him and the other Viltrumites have basically conquered everything, right? Like they killed everyone. Like they killed everybody. I mean, you got Cecil begging for his life, right? Saying like, we can coexist, everything will be fine, right? Thragg pops his head like a grape. I mean, just bam, right? His head just pops right off his shoulders. And I mean like the immortal, the whole 9 yards, right? Like Dupli-Kate, Adam, Eve, they're all dead, right? Every single one of them just killed. And then Mark wakes up, right? And it's not even really a dream sequence so much as just Mark's imagination on what's happening on Earth. Mark's absolutely horrified about what's happening there because the Viltrumites, as we've seen, these guys take no prisoners, man. Like when the Viltrumites have it for you, they're coming, man. These guys are coming for you. And that's just the way it is. And the reality is Mark and Nolan are really the two most powerful beings on Earth, and they couldn't even put a dent in Thragg. What possible hope could any of these other characters have, right? Adam, Eve, Dupli-Kate, whatever. I mean, arguably Adam, Eve is the most powerful being in the entirety of the Invincible universe, but she hasn't reached the full totality of what she can do. She can alter matter on the molecular structure, but one, it still takes a pretty large toll on her, so it really exhausts her. And two, she can only really do it on relatively small scales, right? We haven't seen her do it on gigantic scales facing off against huge numbers of enemies. She hasn't really reached that point yet, especially enemies as powerful as the Viltrumites. And this is kind of the common theme among basically everybody in the Coalition of Worlds, at least all the major players. Mark's struggling in the worst way, right? Because his imagination just goes towards the death and destruction of everybody that he knows. Nolan, while he doesn't necessarily seem to be letting it on, he's struggling in the exact same way. But in his mind, he has to be there for his son because who else is going to be, right? I mean, there's nobody else here. Like Mark's mom, Debbie, she's not here, right? Oliver is probably waking up, right? There's not a whole lot that they can do here. And so literally Nolan just kind of has to tell Mark, like, you got to calm down, you got to relax. Now, a lot of this is coming from a place where Nolan's dealt with this time and time again, right? Either it was on Earth for the fear of the Viltrumites coming there, it was on the other world that he went to where the Viltrumites literally did show up, but Nolan's entire life has been mired in death and destruction. So while I wouldn't necessarily say this is business as usual, what I will say is it's not new to him, right? So he kind of knows how to cope with these things. But even for Nolan to a degree, this is new territory. But when he was on Earth, he met Debbie, he fell in love, he had a son. So even then, he still has a lot to lose. But his experience is what really shines through here. His wisdom, right, really kind of comes through in these instances. The same thing happens with Alan the alien, right? Where like his wife's like, well, the movers aren't going to be here for 20 minutes, you know, so like we can knock boots if you're interested. Alan the alien is struggling as well, right? I mean, it's the same thing. Everybody's struggling because everybody has kind of come to care about each other in a way, right? When you're involved in a major conflict like this, and I've never served in the military, so I can't speak to that, but I have to imagine that in that kind of a situation when your life is on the line, right? You look to the person next to you and you know they have your back. There's a kind of camaraderie and a sort of brotherhood that forms there among these people. And that's what's happened here, right? These guys have fought and some of them have almost died. There are members of their group that they've become friends with who have died, right? And so in the revelation that their lives were on the line, any one of them can perish, and they have to look to the person next to them as a person that will do what they can to keep them alive in the same way that they'll do what they can to keep the other person alive. A camaraderie forms there, right? A family relationship dynamic forms there. And that's why Alan the alien's not just like, yeah, man, that sucked for Earth. Good thing I don't live there, right? We're just kind of like, yeah, man, this is terrible. I'm really, really worried about what'll happen if Mark and Nolan get back to their home world and find it's been completely obliterated, right? So again, just kind of these struggles, these things that they're enduring, that they're kind of going through. And Mark can't really seem to help himself. Now, again, one part of this is just youth and inexperience. The other part of this is because Mark has people he cares about. So his imagination just kind of deviating to the worst possible situation is something that he just can't help. And so ultimately a voice kind of comes on, right? The pilots who have, you know, what have you, and say like, we'll be arriving in Earth's orbit shortly, take your positions, Mark immediately leaves, right? Because he can survive in the vacuum of space by holding his breath, and he'll arrive on Earth long before his breath runs out. This guy beelines it towards his planet, right? Just bolts towards Earth. And when he gets there, he's expecting to see death, destruction, the end of all things. When he arrives there, everything's fine. There's no death, there's no destruction. The Guardians of the Globe are not scattered to the four winds, right? It's not like that. Instead, he's just kind of like, okay, cool, they're not here, right? Because one of the things that Nolan kept telling Mark is there's no way that we know for sure they're heading to Earth. There's a good chance they are, not gonna lie to you, son, but we don't know exactly if that's really what's happening. As Mark's making his way through there, he's like, no, cool, everything's fine. They're not here, we don't have to worry about things. Enter Thragg, right? This guy's like, no, we are very much here. We very much are here on your world, right? Your suspicion that we were coming to Earth is 100% accurate. And Mark immediately lashes out, right? In emotional state, immediately lashes out and attacks Thragg. Nolan tries to hold him back. Like, look, no, that's not gonna happen, son, right? Because Mark's like, I killed Conquest, I'll find a way to kill you. Let me tell you something, Mark, like killing Conquest, that's cool and everything, and it's nice. This guy's on a whole different level, right? This guy is on a whole different level, right? I mean, Mark defeating Conquest, whatever, man, Conquest was afraid of this guy, if that gives you any indication of Freddie Mercury's power, right? This guy is nothing to be messed with, right? And then so ultimately, what Freddie Mercury actually does is he stops Mark, right? Instead of killing him, because we know that he doesn't want to kill Mark, and he doesn't want to kill Nolan. It's one of the things that we saw at the end of the last video, that they need them. He like throws him to the side and says, look, you know, if you believe you can kill me, that's fine. And by some chance you happen to injure me, just know I'm not here alone. The rest of my army is here as well, and they'll destroy this world. And that's when he says, like, I am here because I want to talk, right? If you want to fight, we can fight. And I promise it will not end well for you, right? This fight will be over before it even starts. I was going easy on you earlier. I can tear you limb from limb in a matter of seconds. So either we can talk or we can fight. Which one is it? And ultimately they're kind of like, all right, cool, let's talk. Now, this is one of the most interesting developments in any comic book story that I think I've ever read, right? Remember, the Viltrumites have been billed as this race, right? Just like a race of supermen, basically, that are evil, right? Conquering the universe, that kind of a thing. What Freddie Mercury says is, there's only 37 of us left. That's it. When those 37 of us are gone, our race is extinct. That's it. Like 37 members of the Viltrumites are what separate us from continued survival to extinction. And so he says, like, you know, at the end of the day, like, I could destroy this world right now, and it would be a fair and just response to what you did, right? Destroying the Viltrumite world. He says, but I don't want that. If this war continues on, this is not a war that we can survive, right? Sure, we'll lay waste to Earth, and everybody on Earth will die, but so will our race. And in reality, the glory of the Viltrumite Empire is far more significant than some small little mud ball on a backwater solar system, right? Like, we don't care about that. Like, what we care about is continuing to survive. So he says, like, you took our world from us, we're going to take your world from you. And the response of Mark and Nolan, and really Mark himself, is more like total disgust. Like, wait, so what are you gonna like allow humanity to evacuate? Are you going to ask us to literally pack up and leave our planet so we can, and try to find another one that we can live on so you can have this one? That's not gonna happen, right? And ultimately, like Freddie Mercury's like, we're already here, right? And we don't want to leave. But just something that you need to understand here, you couldn't make us leave if you wanted to. Try with all your might. There's nothing you could do to make us leave here. He's like, so here's what I propose. We will live among your people, right? We look just like humans. They will never notice a difference between us and anybody else, right? Unless we perform some insane feat of strength or fly or whatever it is. But he's like, we will stay hidden. We'll get regular jobs and we will live in secret among everybody on this world, and no one will know that we are here. Here's what I ask. We'll blend in, we will intermingle, and we will interbreed. We will have children with humanity. And when the time is right, then we'll conquer your world. So it's basically, let's put this war on hold for right now so we can muster our forces and kill you later, right? Now, the whole response here is like, the whole response of Mark is like, what? You know, and ultimately, like the response of Thragg or of Freddie Mercury is like, it's the only way to survive, right? We will restore our ranks over the course of thousands of years. He says, human DNA has been proven to make near perfect hybrids, the closest thing we have to pure-blooded Viltrumites. Our children and our children's children will join our ranks. Their children will have children, and our ranks will swell with the infusion of human DNA. You will allow us time to restore our numbers to rebuild our empire. Though the two of you were responsible for the destruction of our home world, you will provide us with our ultimate salvation. The two of you represent the future of our people, what we will become, what we must become in order to survive. this is how things must be. And he says, I will have your answer now. Please do not make me destroy what would be our last hope for survival. This is a big deal because it's basically like, it's all or nothing, folks. If you say yes, then we'll destroy you at a future point in time. You can do what you can to try to make more powerful people, and maybe somebody later on down the line and your genetic structure will be more capable. But like, we're gonna stay here and rebuild our ranks, or we're gonna wipe out this whole world and we'll die in the process. And that's fine, right? We'll take that death if it means destroying all of you in the process, right? So ultimately, like the whole response of Mark is, wait, so you're proposing, what you're telling me, Freddie Mercury, is you want to be able to live on our world so you can become stronger, and you want me to agree? Like, how can I possibly agree to that? And he's like, tomorrow's not today, right? Today is not tomorrow. Worry about that tomorrow, right? Worry about that later. What you have right now, Mark, is a choice to make. The choice that you can make is to allow us to live here and to agree to my terms. We'll be in secret, but we'll swell our ranks and we'll destroy you at a future point in time, or we'll destroy you all right now. Which one is it going to be? And so ultimately, like, Nolan, like, Mark freaks out. Mark's like, this is the most ridiculous thing ever. And then Nolan's like, no, right? And Mark, like, this is one of those times you're gonna have to say yes. This is one of those times when you're not going to want to, but you're going to have to. And where Mark is so emotional and Mark is so torn up and is like, no, like, I don't want to have anything to do with that. He thinks back to what the world will look like if the Viltrumites have free reign, because 37 Viltrumites against 2, one of which is a human hybrid and hasn't reached his full potential yet. The other one has been alive for thousands of years and is still nowhere near close to powerful enough to take out one emperor, let alone anybody in his royal guard. The only thing that Mark can do here is say yes. And that's what Mark does. Mark agrees to the terms of Freddie Mercury and says, yes, fine. You guys can stay here on our world. You can interbreed, intermingle, whatever it is that you need to do. Mark ultimately acquiesces to the Emperor of the Viltrumite Empire. With that being said, guys, we're gonna bring this to an end. Thank you guys for watching, and I will catch you all later. Peace.